Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, featuring Cara Delane and Ted Ings. This episode is brought to you by BG Products, partners beyond products. And now for your hosts, Ted Ings and Cara Delane.
Welcome to After Dark, everyone. I'm the only one wearing a mask, Ted.
What's going on here, Cara?
What the heck? Y'all are letting me down.
You know, I think we got to re-record that opening intro, and we got to add featuring Tully Williams and Ed Roberts, because they are here with us quite a bit, Cara. What do you say?
I know. I mean, the real stars of the show are here tonight, and they seem to have been on most every After Dark lately.
It's quite a bit, right? So, everybody, good evening. We are live tonight on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Want to welcome all of our guests tonight, including Tully Williams, Ed Roberts, David Boyle from Traction is in the house tonight, and Robert Miggs from Carter Myers Automotive. Everybody, welcome tonight.
Welcome.
Thanks,
Super excited.
Hey, Ted, how you doing?
Hey, great stuff.
Let's talk about
Dave,
some tires.
we're going to talk about some tires, Tully, and some alignments. And Dave, you got a big panel coming up at the next event. So cool. But first, want to do a quick shout out to our exclusive sponsor for tonight's show, Cara.
Yes, that's BG Products. Yes, Tully, thank you. Partners Beyond Products, BG, thank you for everything that you do for us at the Fixed Ops Roundtable and our After Dark show. We would not be able to educate and network with so many amazing people without you guys.
Love it. And Tully, we took a picture of that. We're going to send it to Rob Leary at BG. He's been looking forward to that, including Bob Tasca on top of the BG Mustang here, Cara, winning the 2022 Topeka Heartland Nationals. And I see that the backup driver is also in the picture.
I'm always ready.
Yep. Okay. So Bob Tasca will be back with us in just 3 weeks at the big event that's coming up. And the reason for the masks, Cara, is that we're going to do some unmasking of childhood cancer. Is that right?
Yes. So hopefully everybody's seen their mask or got one already, even though you guys are letting me down tonight. Because we are unmasking childhood blood cancers at the next Fixed Ops Roundtable this November. And it's coming up in just a few short weeks.
And I've seen a couple of videos already online. I have one to share with you. This is Kathleen Long from Repair Pal.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Long with Repair Pal, and I dare you to unmask cancer with us at the Fixed Ops Roundtable this November.
So we have a great cause. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society are going to be with us. Roger Conant, good evening and welcome. And that event, Cara, is coming up, as I said, in just 3 weeks.
Yes, November 15th, 16th, and 17th, all virtual and online. Some amazing people are going to be there. So guys, if you haven't already got your complimentary tickets, grab them now at fixedopsroundtable.com.
I see Liza Borges and Adam Aarons and Tom Dahl from Subaru is going to be back with us. And I just got the word over the weekend that Brian Pash will be with us at the event as well. So a lot of superstars, including those who are on the screen. And Dan Barris, thank you for all that you do. Dave's got a great panel, Dan. You'll be very proud of how he is carrying the banner for our industry. So Dave, welcome. And let's talk a little bit about that.
How you doing, guys? Yes, this is quite the. This is what they say. I got a good buddy of mine who's from Jersey. In Jersey, they call this a crew. So this is a crew right here. This is the tire crew, right?
Amen.
This is the tire crew. We would talk some tires, shouldn't we?
These are all tire kings tonight, David Boyle, including yourself. And, a lot of big discussions going on around why dealers have not performed, Dave, in that tire category as they need to have and with the way the competition has. And I know Tully and Ed and Robert, you've got some insights on that. And Tully, I don't know if you want to share any of those thoughts and how we can change.
I think we have to realize that we're truly in the repeat and referral business. The holy grail is retention. And what do we talk about? What do tires do? Drives that number. But the thing we have to worry about is who wants to sell tires? They're icky, they're black. I don't know what the hell they do. And I make no money. But that's the wrong attitude we must have. We need to talk about tires when they're green, talk about when they're yellow, and talk about when they're red, talk about every visit. Show them when they drive in, show them on the tech video, and show them when they leave. Get in the tire business and drive your retention number up.
Tully, what about stocking those tires? That's a pretty important part.
God, if you don't stock tires, you ain't going to sell any. The whole thing is you can say I sell tires and I'm going down the street to buy them. Ain't going to be selling tires, my good friend.
Yeah, getting them this afternoon is not going to cut it. You got to have them right now. Dave, your hat keeps. I'm trying to read what your hat says. It keeps blurring out there. You got to help me out there. What's that thing say?
It's this blurred background here. It keeps blurring out that. Maybe this is YouTube saying because there's something maybe offensive. I bought this hat. It says "I will make you rich." I bought this hat trying to get attention. I was on a panel recently at a different event with sitting right next to Tully Williams on the panel, and I got to tell you. That's a tough gig, I'll tell you, sitting next to that man right there. So I figured, you know what, next time I'm going to be on a panel with him, I got to do something to draw a little bit of attention over to me. I'm an A-type personality too, Tully. I need a bit of attention every now and again. And the man's got his own emoji for crying out loud. So I needed something to sort of.
Well, you did a good job, my good friend. You did a good job. So did Ed.
Hey, Kara. I see Sarah Van Tyne is on. Sarah, good evening. Welcome. Just before I forget, Kara, we were talking about the next event that's coming up in January at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Yes. And I was told that be sure to get Sarah involved with that because she will be very interested in that theme and that might work very well for her. What do you think?
Oh, I can't wait, Sarah. I am so ready. I will call you as soon as this event is over with.
So we got great stuff. I apologize. I had to mention that. Tully?
I'm telling you, I think that we get back, we talk about this panel tonight, and the really excitement what's coming up is that, is your dealership in the tire business. I have guys and gals selling at 50%. I still say, you know what? We have a lot of work to do. But the average dealer sells what? 5, 10%? Take out used. That's just a freebie. But you're not in the tire business, right? And we talk about tonight is that what can we do to help you be in the tire business? Well, how can we help you be in the retention business? How can you be in the repeat and referral business? That's what tires are all about. My good friend David has a product that makes it easy for us in the driveway. It's hard to talk about tires. Hell, I don't know what P137.756 is, right? We need to know what the hell we're talking about. Make it easy, make it fun, and drive retention.
And if you use the product that Dave has, it will do what his hat says.
There you go.
So, Robert, we were talking a little bit about the service drive and about advisors talking about tires early in the process. And I mentioned that Dave's product, Robert, is extremely affordable. I know we're not going to mention any numbers here, but you've heard some of the numbers. What do you think, Robert, from what you've heard?
Honestly, I shortly after getting some of that information from him, it definitely drummed up some interest on my side and thoughts of, continuing some conversations after the panels and after the After Dark tonight, because the model he's going with now is kind of unforeseen in what we do in this automotive industry. So it's going to be pretty phenomenal, and definitely look forward to it.
Big Red. Say no to Big Red.
That's got to be the hat.
We got to get you a shirt.
There you go. There you go.
Sean Kingery, the dream team. We're missing you here tonight on that dream team, Sean. So, Dave, you've got an incredibly affordable product for dealers, and talk about that opportunity, if you will, for us a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, appreciate that, Ted, and thank you for all the guys for your wonderful comments. Appreciate it. When we started this business, our goal was to do something different. I've been on the vendor side for a long time, and I love all the vendors that are out there, but there's, unfortunately, over my career, my experience has been sometimes there's products that get made just for the sake of having something to sell to a car dealer. And our goal was to try to be something a little bit different. And we really focused on the process and the people, because as Tully and Ed have said a million times, that this business is about process and people. I mean, that's what it's about. And our goal was to make a better process and make it easier for the people that are charged with executing that process, make their lives easier. And we tried to do that. And part of that is like you said, is capturing, 100% of the opportunity. And what I found when we've been in this business now for 12 years, a lot of changes in the last 12 years. And we started it, and we had no competitors for the longest time. And over the years, we've had a number of competitors creep in, and I saw some things in the last couple of years that I just didn't like. And that was that the price of these things were, as they were getting more and more feature rich and being made better and better and better, the prices were going up and up and up and up. And it was becoming unaffordable for a lot of dealers, or in many cases, it caused them to have to make a decision. Well, do I really want to go all in? And tires is not something that you can just do halfway. These guys have said it more than I have. It's all about, you got to be 100% committed, and that starts with, if you're going to get in this business, you got to identify 100% of your opportunity. And that means that if you have 3 or 4 inbound service lanes, you've got to have the same process in all of them. And we found, especially with some of our competitors' products, that dealers were choosing to just put one in because of the cost. So we sat down and we said, how do we change this? How do we make this differently? Yes, Roger, I know I'm a Canadian and I don't know how to say my outs or my abouts. 20 years I've been in this country. You'd think I would have gotten rid of that by now, but apparently I haven't. So thank you for that, Roger, by the way. I appreciate you, buddy. But anyway, we decided to take this away from being a big upfront CapEx expense to a small monthly OpEx expense, and getting rid of all the hardware costs up front. And that's essentially what we've done. We've made this affordable. We've made it also something that's got a direct correlation to ROI, right? At the end of every month, you can see what it costs you. And if you're making more than what it cost you, it's easy math. And what most of our customers tell us is that by day 3, 4 of the month, it's paid for itself. And I love to hear that, right? Because that's the kind of product that gets sticky. That's the kind of product that really helps dealers. People get behind it, and it can actually, have the impact that we hoped it was going to have, which is to, help dealers retain more customers, as Tully says. I probably don't say it as loudly as he does, but this is about retention. It's not about selling more tires or more alignments. I mean, that's the gravy part of it. But it is about retaining customers. And, Tully and Ed have heard me say this before. If you truly understood the impact of not only what the tire sale has on the ability to drive more service revenue and keep your service retention up, but the direct correlation between the next vehicle sale, if you truly understood that impact, I think, Ed said it at one of the last events, the amount of money that we spend in this business trying to recapture lost customers, if you took a fraction of that and applied it to this, you could afford to give tires away to people. Correct. If you really understood the impact that it has on, and by the way, I'm not an advocate of that. You don't need to do that. All right. But it shows you the power of what the tire can mean from a retention standpoint. It is such a key piece to overall retention. And as an industry, we spend so much money trying to conquest new customers or sell that next vehicle. And all we need to realize is we just need to divert a little bit of that money and energy to getting really good at selling tires, and a lot of it's going to take care of itself.
Kara, I know you've had some issues with tires in the past year, and there was a recent roundtable, an after dark discussion with Ed about your mobile units there at your dealership. I want to put a image on screen and let Ed speak to it. And Kara, I think this image will interest you very much. This is Ed's latest mobile service vehicle. And Ed, this is a mobile tire service vehicle. Talk to us about that.
Talk about being in the tire business. We're all in on tires because that is a huge, huge retention tool. So we'll even come to you and put tires on. But as Dave said, if we do what it takes to retain a customer, we don't have to spend all the money that we spend conquesting a customer. And the money that we spend conquesting a customer would more than pay for tires. But all we would be doing then was telling everybody that we don't do a very good job of selling tires. So, but we have to talk tires to sell tires, and we got to make sure that we're talking tires from every aspect of the business that we do.
Now, Dave, for Ed's mobile operation, I believe that what you've got, that traction, can also be applied there as well.
Well, for sure. As Ed is well aware, we have our mainstay product, which is our drive-over product, but we also offer a handheld, a mobile, both Wi-Fi and cellular handheld that was really designed for those mobile vans and fleet type services when we created it. We've got a scenario where we've got a measurement tool that works really great when you bring the vehicle to the tool. And we also now have a product that can be, you take the tool to the vehicle, which is really where tires is going in a lot of cases, because, the thing that Ed touched on is about convenience. Dealers get worried about whether or not they're affordable and whether they can compete. And that's another conversation that hopefully we'll get into in terms of being affordable and being competitive. But convenience is the key driver in all of this stuff. And, it's been proven time and time again that people will pay more for convenience. And, the key step in that, for any dealer that is worried they don't make enough money on tires, then take a look at what Ed's doing, because people will pay a premium if you bring it to them. And as you mentioned, Ted, we've got a tool to help them with that as well.
On the upcoming panel, Dave, that you're going to have in November at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, one of the discussions, Tully, is going to be around culture, having the proper culture to even sell these tires. And that's the first time I had heard that come up. Tully, talk to us a little bit about that.
I think, to get the buy-in for tires, it starts with everybody in your store, and that starts with the dealer. I mean, the dealer needs to be in the repeat and referral business. He might not need to know the technical side, but he knows that tires is a retention tool. And if it starts with the owner, it starts with the general manager, then it goes to the service manager that wants to sell tires, not just the annoyance of it, right? Then he's going to go down and he's going to show the riders, how do you build customers for life? How do you build retention with your business? That's how you do it. We've got to be in that tire business. Talk about with the parts department. Are the technicians bought in to sell tires? Your foreman's not going to change a tire, but he needs to do that proper inspection and that video every time. When everybody is on that same page, it is easier to sell tires because it's part of what we do every day. We do a good job selling cabin filters. We do a good job selling service. We do a really good job selling warranty because it's free. We just do a really good job selling tires, and it starts with everybody in your store believing that this works. And when it works, you're going to sell it.
Put that last comment back on the screen. I think that was Brendan O'Brien. Ed, I went to call you the other day, and I think Brendan O'Brien answered the phone.
Yes, Brendan was at our store, I guess, a week ago, and spent a day with us. He was down just south of us doing some training, as dealers need to do more of, and had an extra day and came up, spent the day with us, and got a feel for the culture that we have. But going back to what you guys was talking about there, with you and Tully about culture, it's about the process has to be built into that culture. It's got to be part of what we talk, what we breathe, what we smell, and because all too often we say we don't make money doing tires. We don't make money doing tires in relation to a repair. But let's look at that from the same aspect of doing an oil change. And how many of those do we do? Mm-hmm. Those are elements that we know we have to do, and we got to get that same mindset with tires. Forget about the gross dollars that it brings, and you can build that. You can charge, you can do whatever. You can make that work however you want to make it work. But you got to shift that mindset, because that's one of the first excuses that everybody comes to you with is you can't make any money with tires.
I mean, other than Kara, we're all old enough on this panel to remember when when everybody and their brother started selling oil changes and the prices of oil changes plummet down to $19, and every dealer on the planet said, what, I ain't doing them.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
I can't make any money on selling oil changes, so we're just going to stop doing them. How did that work out? I mean, not very well. And now we do them as a loss leader as part of our business, right? You know, we actually run our retail business, heaven forbid, like a retail business, right? You go in to the grocery store, where do they put the low margin items? At the back is where the milk and the butter and all the low items. And why is that? Because you got to walk by all the high margin items to get to the stuff that's the low. That's how retailing is done. And in the car business, you'd think we'd be good at it, but when it comes to service, we haven't been good at it. And so when we had the $9.95 oil changes, God, I hope we don't ever see that again. But when we had the $9.95 oil changes, what was one of the tools that we used to combat that? All of a sudden, the multi-point inspection became in vogue. Okay, we'll just do a 27-point inspection on every car that comes in for an oil change, and we'll find stuff to do. Right? We'll find work. Well, the problem with that, it worked great. The problem with that doesn't translate into tires. When I go in and visit tire dealers, I talk about tires. The question I ask every dealer is, what process do you have in place for selling tires? Everybody gives me the same answer. Well, it's part of our multi-point. I'm going to tell you straight up, if your only method for selling tires is part of the multi-point, you're not in the tire business, because it doesn't work. As we have all talked about before, it just doesn't work, guys, because the motivation is not there. You know, you got a technician that's doing the major repair and doing the multi-point. He or she may not be the person that's going to get the tire sale, even if they do sell it. And if they do, they're not going to make a whole lot of money on it. So why are they motivated? And then we flip that up to the service advisor, who, you know, half the time the technician is looking at that thing. Well, I wonder what he's not going to sell today, right? And the tires is low on that list, right? I mean, you've got a whole share of wallet comes in, right? You've got a whole bunch of stuff that came off the multi-point, and I've got a bunch of stuff. I've got a couple of fluid flushes. I've got a potential for a brake job, and I've got tires. I make a lot of money on the fluid thing. I make a lot of money on the brake job. I don't make a lot of money on tires. Guess where those are going to go? Those are going to go over here. And if the customer begs me to buy them, I'll sell them to them. Okay. But they got to beg me. All right. Because I really don't want to, because it's going to dilute my hours per repair order or whatever we're paying people on, this month, this week, whatever. It's just not a process that's geared to sell a low margin item like tires. There's got to be a bigger reason at play. And if we allow, and again, this is not because service advisors and technicians don't have, the dealership or the customer's best interest at mind. I believe they do, right? But they've also got their own interests at mind here too. They're trying to earn a living, right? And if selling a $800,000-$900,000 set of tires could potentially lead them to not sell something else that they make more money on, what would you do? Right? You're not going to recommend those tires. And that's what we see all too often, which is, why we created the traction product when we did, was to try to sort of force that conversation to make sure that the dealership and the customer's best interest are always at play along with everybody else's.
And Mike Vogel and Jeff Daniels, some great comments tonight. It's just, Mike, we got a lot of passion, Jeff, tonight, right, on the panel. So people are passionate about this. You mentioned the EVs, and in our panel that we have coming up, Robert, we are going to talk about EVs as well. Let's mention that, because that's going to be real critical, Robert, in being able to inspect the tire on a regular basis and rotate them.
Exactly. I mean, what we're looking at is a position, we are fighting an uphill battle against a group of people that sell tires on a regular basis. And we're trying to get into this atmosphere of we sell tires. The point is, Dave, like you said, we actually do a really good job at selling tires. We just sell it for the wrong company. We sell it for the guy down the street and all the other companies that sell tires for us. We just don't do it for ourselves. So the realization is once we get better at doing it for ourselves and seeing that there's a product for it, because
amen.
Let's be honest, none of these other places would exist if they weren't important. So we got to stop realizing that they're not a loss leader, start using them as a retention tool, and realize that with the EV market coming, that's going to be our biggest avenue of growth and keeping them retained.
Robert, one of the things I tell dealers to do often is, and service managers, when you're driving to the dealership next time, when you get about 4 or 5 miles from the store, start looking around and taking notice of the other businesses that are around you. Okay. It's going to be littered with tire shops around the dealership. You know, I refer to them as the sucker fish of our industry, right? Because they're just there. Okay. They're just there sucking in all the cast-offs that the dealers don't want to do business with. They're not there by accident. It's strategic. Okay. They're there because that's where the customers that need tires are, lots of them. And they know that we're not good at this. I think I mentioned this on one of the previous roundtables, Ted. I had dinner recently. It was not recently now. It's over a year ago with the former CEO of one of the, he is the largest aftermarket tire retailer in the industry. They have 1,400 locations. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to embarrass them, but they do a great job at selling tires. And I asked him one day at dinner, I said, so what's your worry? What are you worried about for the future of the tire business? And he didn't even flinch. He said to me, the dealers. And I said, what? Like, I expected mobile. I expected everything else. EVs. We don't have the right tools for the big rims. He said, the dealers. And I said, no compute. Tell me how that makes sense. And he said, and I'll never forget this. He said, eventually they're going to wake up and realize how important these are. And when they do, we will not be able to compete because they got better facilities. They got better people. Okay. They open more hours. We will not be able to compete with the dealers if the dealers really take this seriously. Think about that for a minute. Okay. This is a guy that sells tires for a living. Okay. In his company, 1,400 locations. All right. And he's worried about us. And we're sitting here talking about him. What's the difference there? What's the dichotomy there? The dichotomy is us, right? And, Tully said it. We've all said it. If we change our mindset towards this, things will change. It's that simple.
Ed, it's spot on.
Absolutely. I mean, tell us about the story with you. I think you went into a place that needing tires, and what happened with you?
Yeah, about 2.5 years ago, on my vehicle that I had previously, I had tires I needed. I was in the yellow, but I was being proactive. I said, well, let me get them now. And it was like, right before things, changed in the world. So I was glad that I did. And I bought the tires at the dealer, had them installed. And the advisor said, you know what? Your tires were the yellow. You really didn't need to get them yet. Okay. And I was shocked. I'm like, I do this for a living as well. I'm like, I needed these tires. Yeah. So again, they didn't believe in the tires. That means that dealership has an issue there, Ed.
Absolutely. It means they didn't want to sell tires to you or anybody else, unfortunately.
Yeah. So
I just saw a comment come up there, Ted, from the coach, Mike Vogel. Just a shout out to Mike. Mike was one of our very first customers, with our products. And, if anybody ever wants to pick somebody's brain, there's a guy right there. Mm-hmm. And I like to tell people that he got tires maybe even before I got it, in terms of the potential. And, he was one of the very early success stories we had in terms of taking the tool that we developed and really, really taking it all the way, and did a fantastic job with it. So good evening, Mr. Vogel.
And Dave, I mentioned earlier to you tonight that I see traction everywhere now. I mean, left and right, dealers getting on board, dealers getting it installed, dealers, Ed, we talked a little bit earlier, you've got some stuff that's coming, Tully wants, the latest stuff in his drive. So you've got a lot of activity and you've really stepped up that game, Dave. Well,
we're a 12-year overnight success. It's what happens when you, as I said to a couple of my business partners over the years, we could have just picked something easy, like, helping dealers sell more cars, right? Because I tell this story often. It's a good one for After Dark, because maybe he's not listening. I hope he's not. But a good friend of mine in this business is a guy named Randall Reed, who's a dealer here in Texas. And Randall's kind of a legend. He's a really good dealer. And years ago, not with this company, but with a former company that was also in the parts and service side, I was in pitching him a product, and it was, I forget what we were charging, but it was peanuts. It was $1,500 a month or something, and I was in there pitching him this product, and he loved the presentation, and he said, you know what? He said, Dave, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. He said, it's a lot of money, but I'll get back to you. And he said, and I hate to rush you out, but I got another vendor that's here to make a pitch. And I saw a guy sitting out there in the waiting room, so I asked him, I said, would you mind if I sat in on the pitch? I'm just curious to see, and he says, no, if he doesn't mind, I don't mind. So the guy asked anyway, that it was some marketing company, local marketing company. And I'm going to age this conversation because he was pitching something brand new called a QR code on their marketing. So this was a few years ago. And he was pitching a mailer with a QR code that the customer could click on their phone, and it could send them an offer right to their phone, and And I'm going to cut to the chase on this, but in a matter of about 30 seconds, he dropped $50,000 on this promotion, and I couldn't get him to spend $1,500.
Wow.
That tells you the difference between that side of the house versus the other side of the house, right?
That's where all the glamour is.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually doing an orientation today with a new employee, and she was asking me some background questions on the industry. And I said, one of the things you got to realize is that the average car dealer, and Ed Roberts, you are an exception to this rule, obviously, but the average dealer general manager, they got into business to sell cars, not to put tires on, right? That's what they like to do. And we just have to realize that this isn't a glamorous thing that the average car dealer is going to go, oh yeah, let me talk to the sales rep that's going to help me sell more tires, right? So that's what I want to do this afternoon, right? But as everybody on this panel and others that I've been on has pointed out, it is a big part of this business, right? I mean, it's if you believe in the retention piece, it may be one of the most important things that we talk about right now. And I think, like you said, Ted, it's been, we're certainly not an overnight sensation, but when we started this, everybody thought I was nuts. But here we are 12 years later, and people are finally starting to pay attention, and we're finally starting to get some traction, no pun intended, or pun intended, I should say.
Tully, you started us off. Bring us home.
If you want to be in the long-term business in California, 2035, no ICE cars. There's not a lot of maintenance on a EV car. What's going to happen is that the dealerships are going to decide, hey, I need to sell tires when I'm not selling ICE cars. Don't do that. Start selling tires today. Be in the retention business today. Get your team on board today. Be in the tire business. Make it happen. You will be successful.
Yeah, love it. Strong message. Dave, you got a big panel coming up. All these folks are going to be on that panel. And tonight we want to announce that Robert Miggs from Carter Myers is going to be a panelist at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Of course, Tully Williams. Tully, you're going to be back with us on just a few segments, right, Tully?
Just a couple, my good friend. Thank you so much, Ted.
Yep. And Ed Roberts is going to be with us as well. And David Boyle is going to lead the charge on tires and alignments and changing that culture to sell tires in your dealership. So you don't want to miss the panel, everybody. It's about changing that mindset. Some great information on there. And Dave Boyle is going to be with us at the roundtable. And Dave, you are going to also be on another panel as well with some legends, I understand, coming up. So I'm looking forward to seeing that panel as well. And Tully, I believe you may be playing a part in that as well.
Well, I hope so. I think that, my good friend Ed's going to be there. We got some big boys on there. I feel so proud, so honored to be even included in the little squares on the screen on this panel. I'm telling you, wow is all I have to say about that.
And I'm excited about it too, Ted, but I have one small issue. I just don't feel like I'm old enough to be on a legend anything. Well, we may have to change the name, because the other thing too is I looked at all the pictures. Tully and I are the only two with hair.
You are right about that.
There's got to be something in this industry that when you're on the vendor side, especially, that causes your hair to fall out, because every one of those guys has got none.
And I think we'll have to discuss that on a panel as well.
Absolutely.
I've got that picture of you and I as well, Ed.
I can't wait for both of these panels, Ted. It's going to be great. And just, when we do the panel with these guys coming up, just do me a favor and give me some time between questions to take notes, because I plan on learning something from these guys.
All right. Well, there's a lot of note taking I've seen on these panels coming up, and Ed, you can attest to that as well. Kara, when is the event one last time?
It is November 15th, 16th, and 17th. So after all the hype, guys, I know you don't want to miss it. So grab your tickets at fixedopsroundtable.com.
Great. And we will see you all there. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Robert Miggs, Tully Williams, Ed Roberts, thank you. Coming a long way to be here tonight. David Boyle, and of course, Kara Delane. So on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you to everybody tonight.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Thank you, everyone. And we will see you guys on a Wednesday at 8 p.m.